Now, it was written a long, long time ago, but now the original manuscript for Don McLean's American Pie has gone up for auction. Our entertainment correspondent Lucy Cotter reports.
A long, long time ago, I can still remember.
It's one of the most dissected and argued over songs in pop history. Everyone has a theory about what's going on, and up till now, Don McLean has said virtually nothing to help. However, now the mysteries are finally to be revealed.
What you have in the manuscript is how we got to that stage. It's the creative process from the beginning to the end. You see great moments of inspiration. You see him attempting things that then didn't work out, a direction that he was going in that he then didn't want to follow.
So bye bye Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry.
American Pie was released in 1971, and for an entire generation it became their anthem. They learnt all the lines to the 8-minute rock and roll American Dream, and since then millions have debated its cryptic lyrics. On sale were 16 pages of handwritten notes which had been hidden away for 43 years, and such is its significance, it sold for over £800,000.
Like all great songs, it's very hard to put your finger exactly on what it is. It's a great tune apart from anything, and the lyrics have become the thing that people focus on, but actually, when you think about it, it's a very easy song to hum along to. It's like one of those timeless, almost nursery rhyme kind of melodies.
Now do you believe in rock and roll?
When asked what the song meant, Don McLean has said in the past, "It means I never have to work again." Now the wait for fans is over, and the secrets of the song of the century can be explained. Lucy Cotter, Sky News.
Well, in our central London studios, Saul Levitt, founder of missamericanpie.co.uk, who's spent years researching the lyrics. OK, tell us what some of them mean. Things like the jester. Who was the jester? Who was the king and queen, to start with?
Yeah, the jester was Bob Dylan, and it says, you know, the jester sang for the King and Queen. The King and Queen's actually a pub in London, the first place that Dylan performed, and the coat he borrowed from James Dean is the coat that James Dean wore in Rebel Without a Cause, that's on the front cover of Bob Dylan's Freewheeling album. So there are lots of these kind of musical references, but also lots of references to that era in time. Don McLean's really talking about living through an era of change, you know, the 50s and 60s, and even onwards, to a loss of innocence. You know, it goes from post-war kind of optimism after the Second World War to the death of JFK and the nuclear things that happened in the US with sort of Cuba and all these things, all these events through Don McLean's eyes, really. So he talks about being a paperboy and reading the news about the death of Buddy Holly, someone that he really admired.
OK, so let me ask you about lots more lyrics to ask you about. I can't remember if I cried when I read about his widowed bride.
So that's about Buddy Holly's wife, who was actually pregnant when he passed away. Obviously a very sad story, and as I say, someone he really idolised. And also some other really interesting lyrics. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry. Them good old boys were drinking whiskey and rye. It could just be driving a pickup truck and having a drink on the riverbank, but actually the levee was a bar that he used to go to in New Rochelle, where he lived, which closed down. They used to go to listen to music there. And rye could be whiskey distilled from rye, but actually also a place just a few miles away from there, so they had to find a new place to go to drink, so they went to drink in rye.
Now the halftime air was Sweet Perfume, while Sergeants played a marching tune. That's got to be the Beatles, isn't it?
Absolutely. Sweet Perfume, I think it's fair to say, was the drugs of that era. The Sergeants, obviously the Beatles, and Sergeant Pepper. Yeah, absolutely.
$1.2 million. Apparently when Don McLean was asked what the lyrics meant to him, he said that he never has to work ever again.
That's right, but funnily enough, he's still performing. I saw him a number of years ago on stage, actually met him backstage and talked to him a bit about it. But I think he'll carry on performing because I think he really loves doing that.
What about this line? Do you recall what was revealed the day the music died? Apparently that's the most ambiguous line of all, I'm told.
It's funny because I've not speculated a lot about that one. I think it's, again, really open to interpretation. But I think what it can be referenced to is that kind of loss of innocence at that time. As I say, you know, you go through this quite strong period in time with JFK and that optimism to his death and race riots and all these things. So I think, and also what was happening in the music industry as well, becoming more commercial in those areas. So I think that's some of the revelation, but I think it's also up to everyone to really see what they think it really means.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. I'd like to ask you about each and every line, but I can't, we're almost out of time. So what about the man there said the music wouldn't play? I almost sang it then, but I can't carry a tune in a bucket, so I didn't. The man there said the music wouldn't play. What's that about?
I think that's about a venue that was, I think it was in LA, if I remember rightly, that closed down. But I think also lots of music venues closing down, listening booths at record stores not being around anymore. So that kind of change in how music was consumed, really.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Those lyrics, 16 pages of the original manuscript sold for $1.2 million this afternoon. Saul Levitt there just giving us an insight into what some of those lyrics meant.